Blog Talk Radio.
Hey guys, this is Those Guys with your host Matt Marrero along with your other host.
Courtney.
Yeah, Courtney. Now, if any of you are wondering, wait, I haven't heard Courtney before, then clearly you have not been watching Those Guys Play, which is our Let's Play YouTube channel, where Courtney and I actually have been playing WarioWare Inc., the first one for the Game Boy Advance, which I think is like Mega Micro Games or something like that. We've been playing that, obviously on the Game Boy Advance, over at Those Guys Play Season 3, I believe it was episode 10 actually, and then we've continued it into its own little series. But today, we're talking about Stranger Things for TV Tuesday, and we're recording this in advance, but it will be coming to you guys for our Halloween in July thing that we do usually on our Those Guys Play channel, but we're also doing it for the podcast as well. So, you know, because Stranger Things is spooky. Ooh. Right, Courtney? It was spooky? No, but Courtney, this show was relatively scary. Not too much on the jump scares, but it tried.
Yeah, there are things coming out of the walls, and there's goo. There's a lot of 80s music. All those things are quite scary.
Yeah. Actually, one thing, speaking of not only 80s, it's funny, you mentioned 80s music, and then you also mentioned kind of things coming out of the walls. You've seen the original Nightmare on Elm Street, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Wasn't it very interesting how they used a similar effect? Like when Freddy was kind of coming out of the wall in Nightmare on Elm Street, they used it for the monster, for the Demogorgon. Now I'm becoming the Swedish chef. Demogorgon. The Demogorgon. They used that similar effect when it was coming out the wall at, it's funny. It's like at Joyce, no, actually, at Winona Ryder. That's her. That's not. There's no character name. It's just Winona Ryder.
That's true. We did give new names to all the characters while we watched it.
Yeah, I forgot what names we gave them.
Okay. So the kid with the missing teeth was Judah Friedlander.
Right.
The main kid. Lil's brother was. Oh, who's that SNL guy? What's his name?
Did you say Fred Armisen? No, it wasn't Fred Armisen. Will Arnett.
No.
Oh, Bill Hader. Sorry, yes.
Bill Hader was Will's brother. Winona Ryder was just Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
Do you have a name for Steve?
It wasn't Steve.
It was not Steve.
I'll say that much.
We had a nickname for him, but I don't know if we can say on the air. But, was it like Dickbag or Fuckface or something? Yeah, something like that. Asshole, I don't know.
Or it was like Dickbag McFuckface. It was something like that. Either way. But no, so here's something interesting about Steve. I'm really happy you brought him up. So originally I disliked Steve a lot, but I think rewatching it, I can understand where the writers were coming from, but I still think that it's wrong to kind of, I guess, do what they did with the character. Now, do you understand what I mean by that? Would you like to chime in? Because I know you dislike Steve as well, even with his quote-unquote redemption. So, why did you dislike Steve?
He was just too perfect. He was just this, goody boy, and then but he's also, not nice to, what's her name with the pretty hair? I don't remember her name.
Nancy.
Nancy! There we go. This is what we
The only reason why...
names. You don't remember their actual name.
Actually, I was going to say, the only reason why I remember her name is because my mom's name is Nancy. That's the only reason why.
Oh, okay. Well,
funny story. Courtney, I'm rewatching the show, right? And my mother's in the kitchen, which if all of you, you've seen the Let's Play videos, kitchen is right behind the living room. So I'm watching the living room, and it's the episode where Nancy is stuck in the tree in the Upside Down. So literally we have we have Bill Hader screaming, Nancy! Nancy! And she just comes out of the kitchen, and I'm like, you thought he was calling your name? And she's like, what are you watching? Because literally imagine just being in the kitchen and just having your name screamed at the top of someone's lungs in the television.
At least your mom
but anyway.
on the tree.
Yeah, no, my mom was not stuck in the tree. But yeah, so I dislike Steve, or at least what they did with Steve. I didn't think of the whole perfect thing, but you're right. Actually, it came off as a bit too perfect, like too preppy in a way. But the reason why I didn't like it is because I feel like it, even though I think characters are allowed redemption, and they did give him some wiggle room to, like, because he wasn't the one who spray painted the bad stuff about Nancy. He wasn't the one, like, he did drop the camera when it came to Bill Hader, and that was a problem, right? But by the way, everybody, we're sticking with the nicknames. But even though he did some bad things, he still eventually changed. But I think the biggest issue to me isn't that he changed, because people can change. It's that at the end of the season, I mean, season 2 can change things, right? Obviously, I believe that season 2 is going to have a time skip. But when they showed the, at Christmas, showing Nancy cuddled up with Steve, it just didn't sit well with me. It felt like you could do bad things and just be rewarded for it and be given the girl. And I'm not saying that, Nancy should be looked at as an object, but the idea is that, she isn't, I don't know, I feel like she doesn't have the, like, they didn't give her autonomy to kind of stand up for herself. Now, she did at one point, but by the end of it, I just feel weird that they've made up. Do you know what I mean by that, Courtney?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I thought it was a little too rushed.
Yeah,
and then I also wanted to end up with Bill Hader. But,
so, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Did you want her to end up with Bill Hader or no?
I mean, yeah. I thought they'd be good together, but I didn't want it to feel rushed. Kind of like with 11 and the one with the bowl cut.
Mike.
Mike. There we go. It felt kind of rushed, but like you also expected it to happen. But it was like, oh, okay, now they're kissing. Wow, okay, cool.
Well, actually, it's funny. I think with the kids, maybe even with the teens too, arguably, rush doesn't seem the weirdest because they're kids and teens. But what I will say is, I feel like it was, even though I wanted Nancy to get together with Bill Hader, I think that should have been a season 2 thing. I think having it happen in season 1 would have felt rushed. But I do agree with you that her kind of just immediately sitting next to Steve with no conversation. And I know you don't want, like, it's not like everyone wants conversations in these because it does slow things down. But it would have helped a little bit more clarification because, yeah, someone could go, well, Steve stayed. Well, he tried to help. It's like, yes, I know, but I don't know. I still feel weird about someone doing those kind of things and then saying, no, it's just fine. Come back into my life in that way. I'm not saying the two shouldn't be friends, right? When you look at Steve and you look at Nancy, they should be friends. But I think being boyfriend, girlfriend at the end of this, if you want to say that they're teenagers, and you and I both know, Courtney, teenagers make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, we both work with teenagers, in debate in different capacities. But so you and I are like, yeah, teenagers. But at the same time, I think as a storyline thing, it didn't. Like, I don't like that they did that because it feels like it sends the wrong message, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like otherwise it wouldn't have happened in this season, and maybe fans were expecting something to happen.
But not necessarily with some. I'm referring to Steve and Nancy, not so much Bill Hader. Like, I'm like Bill Hader and Nancy. That would have been rushed, but not the wrong message. But with Steve and with what he did, I feel like that's the wrong message. That's what I'm saying. I
guess. I mean, it's also maybe it's a good thing that she forgave him. Yeah.
That is. I mean, you want to promote forgiveness. That is true too. Like, it's a weird line, I think. You know.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Now, I think the biggest question is, and I think I think you're on Team Barb with me. Whatever happened to Barb? What are we?
Eaten by the Demogorgon.
It looks like she was eaten. It looks like she's relatively dead. I'm pretty sure we heard bones crunching. But you know what? The little kid's alive, so I feel like she might have beaten him with his her own leg, and she's hopping around in the upside down. And we got to find Barb.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just wanted a live Barb. Barb, like, that's the kind of sad thing, too. Like, Nancy had to, like, grow and have progression. But, like, Barb was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, Barb was pretty cool. Barb was one of my favorites, and she was dead.
Yeah. No, like, you sat there and you're like, listen to...
She was the cool one.
I think she was killed off. Like, it's sad, in certain shows, they'll kill off certain characters to give other characters who you might not like as much depth. And granted, it's not like Nancy didn't have good qualities about her, but she was potentially going down a bad path. So you have a friend like Barb, and you're like, yes, that's the one you want to live. And it's like, no, we're going to kill her. And I'm like, no, you don't do that. Also, you did it off screen too, which could be used to save money because it's a Netflix show. But at the same time, you kind of sit back and think, you kind of question, like, is she dead? Is she not dead? So I feel like it kind of brought up this ambiguity to her death. But you're solidified. You think she's dead and she's gone.
Well, I mean, she looked pretty dead.
Yeah,
she looked
relatively dead. I think she will return from the ashes. Just give her CPR. She'll be good. By the way, apparently the Upside Down is super duper toxic, and Will has just been chilling there for weeks, or for days technically.
Yeah, well,
so
he still got a piece of the Demogorgon inside him.
You think that's what it is?
Well, what do you think it is?
No, that's the thing. I don't know if it's still, if the world is calling to him because he's been there too long, if it's simple but still sad PTSD, because, you throw someone in there, they're not going to come out rainbows and sunshines. So, I don't know, right? I'm thinking, my first thought was, because of of it being a supernatural show, is that it hasn't left him. A part of it is still with him, or whatever. But you're right, yeah, a piece of the Demogorgon could be in him, because they pulled a fucking whatever that thing was out of his mouth. Jesus Christ, but yeah, it's very interesting thinking about Will and what might be going on with him in the future, because, really, what'll happen with him. And also something, I didn't realize this while watching the show for the first time. We see who Eleven's mom is, or potential mom, because that could change. But we see who Eleven's mom is, right? It's that woman who, she was tested on by that same organization that became the one that we see in the show. And when they were working with the government, and they, basically tested LSD on her, and and they put her in the deprivation tanks, and essentially, she was pregnant, so then the kid got superpowers. We assume that's 11. We're assuming. If it isn't, holy crap, there's more, right? But we're assuming it's 11. Superpower fight, but who's the dad?
We
never saw
who Dr. Xavier is going to come and tell her she's part of the X-Men.
You know what's really funny, Courtney? So Marvel shows are on Netflix. X-Men, technically the film rights are owned by Fox, but it's still a Marvel property. It can happen any day now.
I mean, you don't think her father's the science? Oh, the science. Yeah. She could be.
I was just going to say that sadly it can't be Patrick Stewart because he's retired the role. So. Tears, but you were saying though, you don't think that you were saying that's, do I think it's the science guy, Mr. Science Man, white hair, Father Christmas?
Does he have a name?
Honestly, no. I'm sure. Well, Dr. something. It was Dr. Insert name here. I had forgotten because my God, is that man old? But literally, no, I'm sorry. No, every time I saw him, I was like, hello, Father Time. How's it hanging?
Maybe
maybe
that's not her father.
Well, no, but that's the interesting thing, though, because she called him Papa, and then he had affectionate nicknames for her. So you sit back and you think, all right, is he just trying to manipulate her? Because it seemed like he didn't just want her because she's a weapon. It felt like he slightly cared, just a little bit, somewhere.
Yeah. Also, she hasn't killed him.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
Because, even though she's a weapon, if your weapon escapes, you're like, holy shit, he's escaped. well, sir, we can't capture her. What if she gets in the wrong hands, right? Well, then we have to kill her. Like that was never a question. It was always retrieval.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. Because, again, some could say, well, you don't want to kill your weapon. She's a living weapon. It's like, no, but if she's gone and she's just one of many potential weapons, even if she's the only successful one still, again, the idea of her getting into the wrong hands would usually make someone say, should we kill her? And that was never a question.
Yeah,
which
that's
is interesting. Yeah. Now, granted, she wouldn't kill him because he raised her. So he programmed her, not in the coding sense, just in the, in the mental manipulation sense, programmed her to say, no, I'm your father. But we don't really know, which is interesting because in a way, I felt like this could have been wrapped up in one season, but by the time the last episode hit, and even before like the cliffhangers, I realized that we don't know jack shit about anything.
What do you mean?
Well, like, okay, so 11 is dead, yes, or seemingly dead. So you think, okay, that's oh, it's okay. But then again, who's her dad? Technically, we don't know who her mom is, right? Why? Like, this organization isn't gone necessarily. Also, 11 seems to be gone. The organization can't just be okay with 11 being gone. Oh, yeah, we traded. Like, because technically the trade was supposed to be, yeah, you two go in, try to save the kid, and then we'll have 11, right? 11's gone. This organization's not going to be like, well, I guess we'll disband. Okay, you have a nice day now. Like, there's so much that's still going on with this world that once episode 8 hit, I was like, shit, there has to be a season 2.
I mean, 11 can't be dead. Hopper's still bringing her waffles.
Well, okay, but that's the thing, though, right? You don't, like, at first I don't know if it's considered a tribute. Like, when someone dies, you leave something at their grave. Or, like, here is food. You still exist. Like, what does Hopper know? He even went with those people in that car, and I'm like, wait, is that the organization, or is this new people? Like, I don't know anything about Hopper minus his kid dying.
Yeah, that was sad.
Oh, I was sad as fuck. I was in tears.
You what?
I was in tears. Like, that was super duper sad. But what were you saying?
I mean, the first time I thought maybe that was Hopper's daughter. 'Cause, like, do you see Hopper's daughter die? Do you see her die?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
See her die.
No. Actually, you know what? That's a good point. And some people have speculated that on the net. I've seen that around, people thinking that it might be Hopper's daughter. You don't know, right? Like, I think that it's funny. They could have easily just tested on her, and then that ended up happening, and Hopper would never know, and they would never, like, they would know, of course. But, then you ask, well, what happened to that other woman's kid? Did she really die? Right? So that also raises questions as well. So then you're saying that potentially they could kidnap the kid and he thought that she died in the same way with Will? Not that they kidnapped Will, but with the same kind of cover-up?
Yeah, or maybe it wasn't really cancer. It was whatever the treatment was.
Okay. I have to admit, though, yeah, I don't know what the symptoms look like for, well, whatever, because that's the thing. We assume it's cancer because she had the shaved head, but we don't know what she had necessarily. I don't know if they want to keep it open-ended. But the way she just started, hyperventilating, I mean, again, I don't know what the symptoms would be if they would relate to, cancer or whatever they were going for. But it was interesting when she was kind of breathing that way, because I thought, oh, man, like, what do you have? Right? But I think they just wanted to make it maybe vague so they didn't focus on a specific thing for the show. Or also because it had to only be 8 episodes long, so maybe they just wanted to kind of go fast, if you will. Because I have to admit, it does feel like some plots were rushed a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know if you... Yeah. No, I don't know if you disagree or you agree with me, because it was, if it was rushed or not. So, like, how do you feel about that exactly?
I mean, some parts were rushed. Some parts could have been developed more. But you're right.
Is there one thing that you believe that either wasn't developed enough, or that you really would have liked to see developed more?
Kind of wanted more from the other kids besides Mike. I feel like you didn't hear a lot.
Okay. No, that's a very good point, because we ended up people talk about how
I be upset about Barb. I thought it was going to be a bigger thing.
Well, that's the thing. I think we're upset about Barb, or other people are, because Barb just seems like a fucking badass, or at least a really good kid. So I think the nerds are just come on, guys, Barb was cool, right? But I don't think we were supposed to be that broken up about Barb, and the show clearly identified with that, because we never heard about her again. Minus, in terms of having a funeral.
Yeah.
They did do a little bit with Barb, but I think that that's the death that we actually weren't supposed to care about, sadly. And then the internet kind of went, fuck you, we do care. Because there's a lot of people talking about Barb online. But yeah, I admit, though, you're right, though. You're very right. Because you look at the other kids, and you look at, Judah Freelander, and you're like, where are your parents, young man? Although,
man.
Yes, where are your teeth? Didn't he say that his parents, or at least his dad, was military?
Maybe.
I'm sorry. That was the other kid. I can't remember his name, but he ended up because he was talking about how he had the compass and the stuff like that, and not the compass, some other equipment that he got in the war. Vietnam,
yeah.
I think he was referring to. Yeah, no, not in the war. He said in Nam. And I was like, oh, you have family that was in Nam. I think he said his dad was in Nam. Anyway, but no, we don't see a lot of people's parents, which, I guess, again, to get to 8 episodes, you have to condense. But I have to admit, in such a small town, you do kind of wonder, where the fuck are your parents? Granted, we did see, I can't remember the African-American kid's name. I'll find it in a second. But we did see his dad at the funeral. I don't know if you may have noticed, but at Will's funeral,
rational one.
He is, which is nice, right? Just to have one of the kids. Yeah, just one of the kids being like, okay, I understand that she can move things with her mind and everything. Even before that, he of course was freaking out about it. But once we saw that she could, he was like, okay, I see that she can, but why is she the Messiah? Mike, you're treating her like she's the solution to everything. Mike's like, I need to open this can of lasagna. Judah Freelander, have Elle do it. He's like, okay, listen, could we just stop? Literally, we're saying Elle can do everything. But when we saw his dad, not Judah Freelander, when we saw, let me try to find it. I'm going to try and find him, which is, let's see, Caleb?
Sure.
Seemingly? Yes,
yeah,
sure.
Good name.
Or Lucas. Sorry, Lucas. Duh, Caleb is the actual actor's name. Lucas. Yeah. So with Lucas, Lucas Sinclair, we actually saw his dad in the background, kind of tapping him on the shoulder at the funeral, because all the boys were standing in a line, sad. And then when everyone was leaving, I saw his dad in a suit tap him in the back. But other than that, just have not seen any of their parents minus Mike. And, of course, Will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, so what do you think about Hopper? Do you think that he might have some government connections or something weird?
Maybe, or maybe they just wanted to interview him because he knew so much, and they wanted to know why.
That's a good point, because at first when he was standing outside, I
brainwashed him once.
Right? Yeah, just right. Well, technically they didn't brainwash him. They pumped him with drugs to make him think oh, you just had a bender, or to kind of send a message everyone will think you were on another bender again.
What were you saying at first? What?
Well, what I was saying at first was when he was first stepping outside, I thought that he was just going to meet with his reporter friend, because he's still a good guy. So it's fuck it, I'll meet with this. Because he said, I have a reporter at the Times that I gave this all to. He said that during the interview when I say interview, it was a torture. Like, well, I love it. They were torturing him, and I'm like, it was a great interview. Fuck is wrong with me? Anyway, so when they were torturing him for info, and he said, oh, I have a friend at the Times, I thought he was going to give or talk to that reporter. Then he gets into a car with dudes in suits, and you ended up hearing during that torture session when they said, oh, who do you work with? Like, are you, so in my head I'm thinking, oh shit, does he actually work with someone? Because early, when I was watching the show, even though you want to, just like in older movies and older TV shows, and you're like, yeah, he's a cop, but he's not just some cop, right? He knows what he's doing, right? And he's so cool, and he's so smart and whatever, but he's just your average, your everyday man, your average Joe. But after seeing that one scene, I think about it, and I'm like, Hopper seemed very competent, though, like too competent, especially compared to everyone in town. Like that was, like every other cop. Minus the one African-American cop, it felt like the other cops around, or the other people around even, are just kind of just not as competent as Hopper. You know what I mean? Like he's too skilled.
Maybe he's also ex-military.
That's what I was wondering. Like I'm wondering if he's ex-military, or because like the way he held the gun, it wasn't just like, in my opinion, like when they were in the Upside Down, to me it didn't come off as just, oh yeah, I'm holding a gun. Like for some odd reason, probably just because it had two handles, but it just came off as if he knew what the fuck he was doing. Not just like, oh, I'm a cop that knows what I'm doing. Like just, I don't know, it felt more than that to me, right? But yeah, you were saying like you just don't know, which again, thankfully season 2 is coming out in October. So I'm really hyped for that. But yeah, so what did you think about Eleven? What did you think about her character?
I was really confused at the beginning about what she was trying to convey. And like eventually it made sense. And like I felt that was kind of rushed too when they revealed like stuff about her and stuff about her background.
Yeah. So you would like for them to delve into that a lot further, not just kind of like touch the surface.
Yeah, I mean, she's interesting. Like, how does she know, like there's certain things she knows how to do and certain things she has no idea what to do, and it's very interesting.
So what's something that she knows what to do?
Like, she knows how to close a door, but like she doesn't know what a waffle is.
Well, I mean, you would assume that they'd feed her like government pellets that like taste like steak but are not steak.
And what? She has a water bottle like a guinea pig where she like sticks her head up to the straw and then like goes running in a hamster wheel.
I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't put it past her to be like, I had a big one of those, and they're like, a hamster wheel?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, you're right though. I don't know, even though I'm saying like, no, but they probably did this. Still though, yes, you are correct. Like there are certain things that it does seem like she's aware of, and then other things that she's not. And like obviously she isn't aware of like relationships, right? Because they're not going to talk to her about anything like love in whatever fucking class they may have had to teach her about the world, if even. Like, for all we know, she only knows English because they thought, well, we kind of have to teach her that. Like, I'm surprised she could even speak.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering that too.
But I assume it was just for, like, for practicality. Like, they're like, well, we have to teach her English because we have to make her a weapon, and we have to give her commands, and she needs to understand what we're talking about when we kind of get in depth, which was so interesting. Like, what I want to know more, more so is about her powers, because you say, like, what? She can read your mind. It's like, well, yes, but you don't really see her reading minds more so than her snapping necks, like using her, essentially physical powers, right? But more so like psychic. But yeah, so snapping necks. You see her being able to go into this world via, sensory deprivation, and you see her being able to, I guess, transmit people's voices in a way where it's like, oh, I could tell you what they're saying, but it's much easier to just transmit their voice into a speaker, which is fucking crazy. Like, her powers are just insane. So, it's very interesting to think about what else she can do, or to what extent can she go with these powers. It's nuts. I mean, saying she lifted a car with her mind, that sounds normal compared to some of the stuff that she's done, even though it was a little overkill, but it sounds normal. But I think just moving the speaker, like moving the voice thing, like basically, making like a ventriloquist out of, out of a person, is fucking weird.
Yeah, that what's the thing that she did? She can it's interesting that she doesn't really seem to read minds, just snap people's necks. I mean, like you said, she is a weapon.
Yes. And they've clearly trained her to do this stuff. What's really funny is it seems like they've trained her to do this, although maybe she can just do it on instinct. But it's kind of funny how they haven't found a way around her just snapping people's necks.
Maybe they want her to be able to do that.
No. I mean, to their own people, at least. I don't know what you would do necessarily, but I think it's just crazy that, I admit, I can't, I don't have a solution. But I think it's crazy how they're just like, hey, man, you take this job, fucking pays really good, really well, man. I was able to buy a house off of, 3 paychecks. Dude, that's nuts. It is. I'm going to die, though. Right? Just the idea of, this job, amazing benefits. It will be the death of me, though, probably in the next 4 to 5 hours. Did you mean days? Noob. Literally you take that job and you're just basically signing away your life.
That's like our job.
That's like any job, But still, the point is that, it's just, I feel like just this, it's crazy to me, though, thinking people work there and they've still not found a way to make her not want to snap your neck. Think of the amount of people that died, not even just in her retrieval, just at the base itself.
Yeah, you think they could have done something?
You think I could? Yeah, granted, I'm not. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not saying that she, it isn't cool seeing her be a badass, right? Having this female character in power, in charge, that's cool, right? But just the idea of you have, it's funny, you made the X-Men joke earlier. In X-Men you'd have I'm not saying it's scientifically accurate, but you had Magneto with the helmet that basically said, hey, Charles, you can't get into my head. You can't see where I am. As far as you know, I don't even exist. And it's just kind of funny how this government organization is you either live or you die. We'll see what happens.
They built the Death Star and left a hole in it.
Basically. We just need someone to get the plans. But yeah, this town is very interesting, right? Because they show it. They being the show writers, push it as such a small town. Yet it feels a lot bigger, I think. With the set, with the, I don't know. I guess when as we're seeing the show play out, the fact that we don't see a lot of the same people, I think it might just be a TV thing, right? But we don't really see a lot of the same people around, minus the main cast, which it's kind of interesting. It seems like such a small town, but yet you see that many kids there, and you're like, shit, this town's bigger than I thought.
Yeah, that's true. The question is when you ask where are the parents, I guess the other question is where is everyone else in town?
Yeah, because at first I thought, man, real small town. It has small town feel, right? And maybe I'm just judging small towns, I'm not judging them correctly. I'm thinking that they're a lot smaller than, I'm not saying there should be only 13 kids, but seeing that large student body, I'm like, this town's bigger than I thought. You know, like, when I think small town, I mean, again, maybe I was wrong, but, like, that elementary school and even that high school, I'm like, that town isn't as small as I had thought, you know? Maybe I'm wrong.
I know almost nothing about small towns, so who knows?
Fair enough. Miss I live in Queens, but doesn't know much about Queens. Doesn't know much, but Miss I live in Queens.
Something about Queens. Really important.
What do you know about Queens?
It starts with a Q, ends with an S. There's lots of good food.
Yeah.
The largest
you got it.
by population.
All right.
The largest borough by size. I always forget if Brooklyn's the largest by borough, but Brooklyn and Queens, one is largest by population, the other is largest by size, and I can never remember which one's which.
If it makes you feel any better, I really don't care. But it makes you feel any better. But yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry, I don't care about either. I mean, look, I live in Brooklyn, but I really don't care about that statistic. I'm sorry. But Courtney, question. I remember when we.
Brooklyn?
I live in Brooklyn technically, and Queens. I live on the border.
You live 3 blocks from Brooklyn.
How dare you?
Fine.
How fucking
you live
dare
in Brooklyn. You want to be a hipster? You can be a hipster.
I'll live in Queens. Thank you. Anyway, so all I'm saying is this, right? I'm just trying to say, Courtney. Okay, Courtney. When we were watching the show, I thought that Will was actually dead. You did not. Is it just because he's a kid, or and it's a TV show? Why did you think that Will wasn't dead?
Because if Will's dead, you can't have a second season. And if Will's dead, what's the point in watching? You get through the whole series, and it's like, the kid was dead the entire time. And then you're like, well, that sucks. Plus, you leave Winona Ryder heartbroken. And who would want to do that?
Okay, I will admit, you don't want to leave Winona Ryder heartbroken. That's a fact, right? But what I'm saying is that when we were watching it originally, they were building up to it, but it only happened in episode 4. So it's not like it happened in episode 7, and it was like, I waited all this time and the kid was actually dead. Like, this happened early enough that with us not knowing what was coming next, they could have kind of changed the show up.
I guess, but if they killed him off in 4, why would you watch the rest?
Well, because, again, you still have 11, and you still don't know what's going on with the rest of the town and this organization. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Will, I don't know, maybe I'm the jerk here. I don't feel like Will was the most important part. I feel like Will was just not that he was a B plot because he's what started the show. Oh, my God, where's our friend Will? But at the same time, I didn't feel like he was the most important person.
I mean, you'd be a jerk regardless, but I agree he's not the most important part of the plot. Then what is the most important part of the plot? Elle?
Yeah. Or the organization. Because without them, Will wouldn't even have been in this mess.
That's true.
Yeah, but so have you ever played D&D? Because I've never played D&D.
I haven't played it in a while. The other thing I didn't get is how was she able to find him if she had to get into the sensory deprivation tank to find him later? But how was she able to find his voice that easily?
I think because she's been in the Upside Down, she can feel that he exists there. I think she also could feel, or maybe could hear his thought, hear his calls, I guess, or feel his presence. I felt like there was something like that there, but she couldn't sense him directly. Or I think she mentioned at one point that his energy was so low that he was essentially, I thought he was dying, but he was, he was in that area for so long that it wasn't good for him, and his energy was lower. I feel like it was something like that later on. His health was declining, so she couldn't sense it as easily. But I don't think she knew exactly where he was every time.
Oh, okay. So what about D&D?
Good point, though. Well, what I was saying was, if you ever played D&D, and because I only played it once, and I really wasn't a big fan. But I want to know if you have any experiences with D&D, because the show is essentially D&D. Dungeons. What was it? Dungeons and Monsters.
Yeah. I guess, Dungeons and Dragons probably copyright.
Oh, most definitely. But it's still funny that they could make a game called just Dungeons, or it was Dungeons on the box, but they also called it Dungeons and Monsters at one point. And it was so funny because you sit there and you're like, so you can only make a game that is D&D and have a bunch of monsters that sound like you're talking about D&D, but legally it's not. And you can just make the show. Like, I was so interested in that, I think. It always interests me when you can just kind of make something that's really super-duper close to the original thing, but go, that's not Dungeons and Dragons. We would never disrespect copyright. It's called Dungeons and Monsters. It's like, really?
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so you've played D&D. You haven't in a while, but did you used to play a lot or not so much?
Not really. But I understand the basic idea.
Wasn't really a thing, or just you had better things to do?
I always had better things to do, but it was like, it takes a long time. It takes a lot of preparation if you're the dungeon master, because you have to come up with the stories. If you're doing voices, you gotta come up with the voices. You know, you kind of have to write your own choose your own adventure comic, because like people are gonna choose different options or like roll different things. So you really have to there's a lot of planning. From how I
calling you out,
understand
Courtney, but you actually explained it well to me. No, I was like, you're doing better things. That way you couldn't do it. And you were like, I could say that, and then you break it down. And I'm like, that was a nice breakdown of D&D for people. Thank you. I will admit, that it felt like they wanted to go into D&D a little bit, just to show that the kids liked it, but not so much, just so that casuals can kind of understand what's going on. Do you know what I mean? It felt like they didn't want it to be a thing where if you've never heard of D&D, that you'd be lost. But also at the same time, for anyone who's heard of D&D, they were like, hey, look at this. Spells, right? The upside down, Veil of Shadows. And you're like, yes, that vaguely sounds like the things in D&D that I know. It was kind of walking this interesting tightrope. With some of its nerdier references. Yeah. How did you feel about...
a lot of super nerdy references.
No, not a lot of super nerdy references, to be fair. Question, what did you think about the science teacher?
Answer, I thought he was a nerd. He was very geeky. I was surprised that he had a girlfriend.
I was not surprised that she was Asian.
Yeah.
Because I looked at the teacher and I'm like, of course, you probably like watching anime too, don't you? You trash, you anime trash. I don't know. I felt like he asked her if she can speak Japanese, and she was like, I'm Vietnamese, asshole. So
that's
I don't know.
Felt a kinship.
What? No.
I said
no.
That's why you felt a kinship. He watched anime and so did you.
Oh, okay. I just said that whole thing about the Asian thing, and you were like, that's why. And I'm like, what the fuck? No.
Yes, because you're Asian. No, I meant because you like anime.
Yes,
just
no. Just I do like anime.
Vietnamese women if they speak Japanese.
No, I don't. I don't do that, everyone.
What?
No. But anyway, I'm really happy as the show went on that he wasn't a serial killer, because
that was the other thing I was afraid of. Yeah.
No, right? I don't mean to be a dick, because it's I don't want to say oh, if you're a nerd, clearly you no, I'm not doing that. He just seemed way too mild-mannered.
Yeah.
And in a show like this, when you're that, I say this because it's supernatural, but there's also some horror elements. When you're that mild-mannered, you kind of just sit back and think, oh God, what is in your refrigerator?
Bodies.
So
oh no, it's pieces of Demogorgon.
That would be hilarious. He just hunts the Demogorgon.
And then
he's the one guy that can just go hunting in the woods, and they're like, do not fuck with him.
And then he asks his girlfriend to make Demogorgon sashimi, and she goes, I'm still not Japanese.
Oh,
but if you want
God, I hope he doesn't kill her.
I can help you out.
What?
But if you want me to
What'd you
make banh mi out of, but I said if you want me to make banh mi out of Demogorgon, I can hook you up.
That's a Vietnamese dish, I would assume.
Yes. You would have said
Yay.
correctly.
Yay! I don't know anything about anything. But I'm honestly, like, I'm really happy that he wasn't a serial killer, because I have to admit, like, I got to the point where I'm like, he killed Will. They're like, no, Matt, you saw it? No, Matt, no, Will's in the Upside Down. I don't believe it. I don't believe. Like, I honestly was really worried, and like as the show went on, like I hope season 2 still keeps him as like nice science teacher guy. Like, I don't want them to do this like 180 where it's like actually he was a killer the whole time. Like, I really hope they don't do that.
How about that scene where they cut open the fake Will and stuff?
Yeah, that was interesting because.
Creepy.
Oh, okay. Because when they pulled this, well, it was creepy because they got the face to look a lot like him.
Yeah.
But what was funny is when like he pulls out stuffing and he's like, "Oh no," and I'm like, "Hey, you don't know how autopsies work. You know what they do with the body after. You don't know, Hopper." But like I assume when he touched him, he was like way too rubbery to be human. And that's why when, it's like, there's cod in here, it's a cover-up.
It's a trap.
Yeah, it's a trap. But, oh, you know what we didn't mention? Those fucking kids. Those two little assholes. They call them mouth breathers. But, you don't remember those two fuckers?
Oh, right.
Like, Jesus H. Christ, I would take the Demogorgon over those two little shits, because Demogorgon isn't human. Like, we have to categorize those two little shits as human.
Yes, technically.
I understand someone would be mad, where it's just like, you made me pee myself in front of the entire student body. But just coming at him with a switchblade.
Yeah, all that over a little pee.
Yeah, like think of it like this, right? The teenagers were just like, let's punch it out. It's the kid, like the kids are the ones that were just like, switchblade time.
I'm more impressed that they have switchblades.
I'm not. It's the 80s.
What? Everyone just wanders around with a switchblade?
Yes.
Nice. Did you like the music?
Actually, yes. I love the music. I know some people online were saying they didn't like that it felt too much like they were trying to push that was the 80s, like 24/7, which, I guess I can kind of agree with, but at the same time, I did like the music. I really did. Like, I think they also had to push it because they're not going to have a calendar, like, they're not going to have calendars everywhere. So, yeah, you're going to have to, like, remind people, like, yes, by the way, we're not in the 90s. We're not in the early 2000s. Like, we are in the 80s. So I like the music a lot. I don't feel like it was it was weird at all, because like usually I'm not a big fan of music that's not made originally for a television show being in a show. They usually want the music to be newly composed, and not all of it to be vocal, because sometimes with new music that's composed for a show, it's too specific.
Mhm.
Where like, you know what I mean by that. I think many people listening in know what I mean, where it'll be like, and she's running, man, she's running, something's coming after her, and she's running, she's also in school, and in love with a vampire, and you're like, what the fuck? I don't want this, right? So I usually like when it's just orchestral, instrumental, but I have to say in this case, yeah, I did like a lot of the music that they used. I think it was fitting.
Why?
But, Well, I think it was, I don't know, I think just because it's just the 80s. So, and also I think it's music that I like, so I'm probably biased towards it as well. But I'm just cool with it because they're trying to set up a period, like this is a period of time. Like if it was like, oh, we're in a show like it's the early 2000s, I would constantly expect them to be playing Smash Mouth and Panic at the Disco and Fall Out Boy 24/7. Or maybe that's just my own personal music MP3 player. I don't know. But anyway, so Lebby, did you like the music or no?
I mean, I usually like 80s music. I thought it worked well. I thought if if you look at like Guardians of the Galaxy as like an example of like a movie that had 80s music recently, I felt like that was smoother with how it used it than the series was, but also it's TV versus movies. I mean, some of the stuff I like, some of the stuff I was like, all right, that's cool. I just felt like it didn't feel super 80s. Like there wasn't a lot of like 80s specific references. Like, they talk about Jaws, but that's the late 70s. They don't really talk about, like, things that happened in the 80s. Like, it's never clear, like, if it's an exact year in the 80s. Like, it could be 89 or it could be 82.
I think that vagueness, though, is definitely something they were going for. I think, like, 80s shows, even though definitely it wasn't as 80s as something like The Goldbergs or... I don't know if you've seen The Goldbergs, but it's really funny, but very 80s. Because, like, it's meant to be the creator of the show was actually using the show as a vehicle to, like, in a way, like, it'd be like an autobiographical story about his life as a kid in the 80s. So that's kind of what the show is about, like, just like the narrator, who is Patton Oswalt, by the way, saying, like, hey, this is me in the 80s. And, yeah, but when it comes to Stranger Things, they definitely want it to be super vague about what year it is. I don't know if that'll be a bit more clear in season 2, but you're definitely right. Like, it was super duper vague, and I think it was that vague just because not only did they have stuff to, explain in the show itself rather than just focusing on what specific year it was, they also wanted to just make broader references that you would notice, like, just them focusing on, like, I think it was the dad. Yeah, it was the dad who said, is this when the organization came to their house and said, hey, your son is with this girl and yada yada. He said, is she with the Russians? Or is she working with the Russians? And it was really funny because you're kind of sitting there and you're like, yeah, this is the 80s with the, with the Cold War and the Red Scare and all that shit. So it's kind of just like, no, Russians. Nowadays we love Russia. Anyway, so apparently. But yeah, you know what I mean, though, right? Like, I will admit, you're right. It was vague, but I think they had more to set up in the show, which is why they went for more of a vague year, or like a vague, like, 80s setting.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm saying, like, instead of focusing on like what year it was and like what, I mean, obviously we know that it's. Like clearly like Christmas is coming up. But other than that, although I'm a little confused about the Christmas thing, but we'll get to that in a second, that like Christmas was coming up and, stuff like that. If you focus on a specific year, then you have to adhere to certain things, I think. Like in that year, like, what was on television, what was released, what toy was released, yada, yada, all this stuff. So, like, I mean, granted, we do know that Lando Calrissian, being a traitor exists. So clearly it's after 81? No, it's after 79, sorry. Because 79 is when episode 5 came out, yeah? Or was it 80? Do I have to go to the Google machine?
Not necessarily.
Are you on the Google machine?
I thought you were... Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to look it up.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Look it up now.
No, yeah. But anyway, so the Christmas thing, the reason why I was saying that kind of confused me a little bit was because of the fact that I thought the way they made it sound, right? They were like, they said, hey, the lights, right? Like Joyce was getting the lights, right? So she gets those Christmas lights, and it seems in season, and then it says 1 month later, And clearly, it's Christmas. It's snowing, and that's the Christmas party, right? But when people come over to the house, they ask her why she still has the lights up. And I thought that it was giving off the impression like Christmas had passed. Am I wrong there, or? Courtney? Did we lose Courtney? Or did we lose me? Hello?
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Cause
okay.
Otherwise,
I thought we lost you there, Courtney.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had a moment. But, what was I talking about yet?
Well, no, what I was saying was that it felt like they had passed Christmas, even though they didn't, because at the end of the show, they went a month into the future.
Well, that's because Will liked Christmas so much she had the lights up all the time. But,
no, yes, but what I'm saying is that when she bought the lights, it seemed like it was in season. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's
what I mean.
So maybe it wasn't necessarily in season. But I thought they were supposed to be in Christmas when Steve and Nancy are sitting on the couch. That's not Christmas?
No, that's what I'm saying. That was Christmassy at the end. That's what I'm saying. At the end, it was all Christmassy because, Hopper was at the Christmas party. There was the music playing. Then Nancy and Steve were on the couch. That was Christmas. What I'm saying is in between those 8 episodes, people were acting as if, like, why do you have the lights still up? And I don't know if it was because, like, oh, Will is gone, so, like, take them down. This isn't whatever. Or,
I thought it was
why
like,
the lights...
oh, it's too early for Christmas. Why put the lights up now?
Potentially. That's what I'm saying. It might be that. That's why I was just thrown off, personally.
Oh, I see what you mean. The time doesn't line up.
In my head, anyway. But it might. Might just be me, But anywho, so is there anything about the show that you really did enjoy? Because I feel like we've been talking about the show and saying we like things, but not necessarily focusing on them. So is there anything about the show that you really can sit back and go, man, I loved X?
That's a good question. I really liked Barb for however long she lasted.
So you liked Barb?
I liked Barb. I liked Judah Friedlander a lot. Like, I kind of liked Winona's relationship with Hopper. I didn't love it. I kind of liked...
That was it. I'm sorry to interrupt. That was interesting. There's something interesting about, excuse me for a minute, there's something very interesting about her and Hopper, though, because clearly they didn't want to push, like, a relationship, but it feels like there's, like, low-key, like, under the radar kind of shipping them, like the actual writers are, but they didn't push it hard, so I like that.
Yeah, I like that, too. I don't know, is there any part you really liked?
So sorry, I was gonna say if you can continue with what you were saying, but you asked me a question, so now
I don't know. There wasn't really anything that I loved. I don't know. There were just parts that were cool. I liked the scene at the gym when they put her in the salt water.
So then my question to you is big question then. At least I consider it a big question. Do you think the show was overrated?
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, damn. Courtney's throwing down.
Did you?
Damn. I don't think it was overrated, but I definitely, well, it's funny. It depends. Because, I feel like the word overrated means that, I'm putting it down. But if I agree with you, I'm not saying that it's a bad show. I'm just saying that, people described it like the second coming.
Yeah, and it wasn't.
So, yeah, it wasn't Second Coming, but I do want to see the second season badly. I am actually hyped for the second season. I'm hyped for more. I want more, but I'm not sitting there saying this is one of the best shows ever.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, did you have a favorite part?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it right now. I think I enjoyed. It's funny. I think I enjoyed Judah Freelander talking to their teacher, being like, "Sir, you said that we could open the door to knowledge at any point we want to. Sir, why are you keeping that door locked?"
Yeah, I feel like he had a lot of the best lines.
He did. What I really liked about him was he was a lot smarter than I think anyone, including us. I don't want to speak for you though. Gave him credit for. Because I personally thought they'd have him be spunky comic relief, but he wasn't. I mean, he was spunky comic relief, but he also was very smart when they needed him to be, and that made me happy because it kind of shows that he's not just like a toothless face. You know, he's not just some kid.
I mean, there's one scene when Mike's mom tries to feed him dinner, and she's like, "Why aren't you eating?" And he's like, "I had 2 bologna sandwiches earlier. I don't know why," or something like that.
Yes. He said that verbatim, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But yeah, I enjoyed his character a lot. I don't know, I'm trying to think of my favorite part. Something I want to say that disturbed me, but I think that when I saw the scene as a whole, it made sense. But when it was happening, you and I were not enjoying it. The scene with the deer.
Oh, God. Oh,
yeah,
I hated that part.
Yeah, first off, I just don't think it needed to happen. You can give me an entire show again without it, and I would sit back and go, okay, right? We just did not need that. However, I want to say that I do want to say though, Courtney.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Like with it happening though, right? When it happened fully, like the whole thing kind of played out. It made sense, right? Like, because if they had shot the thing, I'd be like, fuck this show. Sorry, I love the show, but God damn it, what the fuck? You know? But but I feel like with everything that happened, I thought, okay, that was a terrible scene in the beginning, but you know, it was a jump scare to try to, scare you, because Demogorgon, right? But oh God, we're gonna move on, right? Like we're not even talking about that. Yeah. So I'm really trying to think of my favorite part because I don't want to pick that one phone call as my favorite part. I think I just really liked when everything started coming together for them, where, like one incident after another in episode 7 kind of just started tying everything together for Hopper. I really like seeing that Bill Hader can hold his own and beat the shit out of Steve.
Yeah, Steve deserved it.
And that's the problem, right? Like, Steve deserved it, and then again, like an episode later, you're trying to get me to be like, oh, yeah, good job, Steve. Where when I was first watching it, I was like, hey, let's just kill Steve here. He'll die a hero, and we'll all be happy.
Kill Steve.
Yeah, and then they didn't, and I'm like, well, shit. But so
I agree.
So now, what do you think might happen with season 2? Is there anything that you're really looking forward to, or anything that you're not looking forward to even?
I mean, I think we're gonna meet Eleven's parents.
Which I'm hoping for.
What am I not looking forward to? I'm not looking forward to seeing what's growing in Wolf's stomach. I have a feeling it's going to give me nightmares.
Alien, yay!
I have a feeling there's probably going to be new characters, because there always are. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know. What are you looking forward to, or not looking forward to?
I'm looking forward not only to meeting, Eleven's parents, but I'm looking forward to actually meeting, it's funny, everyone's parents, because there's so many people whose parents we didn't meet. So I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of parents, which is funny because as debate coaches as we are, we're not usually looking forward to meeting people's parents. Usually there's a negative connotation to that. But unless they're, working with the teams, then in which case there's not a negative connotation. But just a phrase as an educator, like, oh, I'm going to have to meet the parents, is usually not like, yeah, right? But in this case, yes, I can't wait to meet parents. And I would also like to say that not just parents, right, but I can't, well, first of all, I want to say what I'm not looking forward to, actually. I am not looking forward to seeing more of Steve and Nancy, and potentially now having this really weird, this love triangle with Bill Hader. I'm not into that. I do not want that, and I'm going to be a little frustrated now because I'm already feeling it coming, and I don't want it. So, yeah. So, not looking forward to that. But, I mean, we'll see what happens,
Yeah, maybe he'll find his own girlfriend.
Yes, which would be interesting. Because just like, who will you find? I thought there were only like 4 teenagers in the town. Yeah, right? Just finds Barb. But, yeah, so I think we're going to wrap things up here, honestly, unless there's anything else you want to say about the show itself, either as a season or any like little fun things that you remember from an episode. I mean, any little thing you want to say about the show.
I like the part where they hid in the bus.
Actually, I did too. Like, it felt like a very, like, okay, this is where we will die.
Yeah.
No, like, it really did feel like the end. So I enjoyed that, actually. Yeah, that's a good part.
Like, I'm actually the communicating light wall.
Oh, yes. Well, it's funny. I knew more about the communicating light wall before I even saw the show, funnily enough, because you just, for me anyway, I would just see it on social media, and I'd be like, I wonder where that's from, and I had no idea.
It's very iconic.
Very iconic, yes. I
saw it as a phone case, and I was like, oh, now I get that reference.
Ha. Yeah, no, I feel the same way. The show was really a big hit. Like, it's funny. Even though I said, like, might potentially be overrated, in no way am I saying that it shouldn't have been a hit. Like, I understand the appeal because, again, I liked it, right? I don't want to say that I didn't like it. But it definitely was a breakout thing, and I saw a lot of people, either making jokes about it or mentioning it on social media or, like, really awaiting season 2. And I have to say that I do think that, even though we've said what we said about the show, about Stranger Things, I do think that maybe 10 to 12 episodes might have helped it more. So it's funny. Usually when I complain about a show, I say, let's just not have it be a thing. But in this case, I'm actually sitting back and saying that more of it may have been better in that season.
Yeah, it would have let you gone more in depth on things and slowed down some plot points.
Yeah. But anywho, so I want to thank you all for listening in, as always. Love that you guys are listening in. And here you are, right, during our second Halloween in July extravaganza, I don't know what to call it, event. Now, first time that we're doing it in podcast form, but still, right, it's happening. So thank you all. Make sure, if you're listening to us, by the way, you might be listening to us through our Blog Talk Radio account, which is blogtalkradio.com/those-guys-on-the-radio. You might be listening to us through our iTunes, which is actually Those Guys. Search that up on iTunes. You can find our podcast there as well. You might be listening to us through our YouTube archives by searching up Those Guys on the Radio on YouTube and finding us there. And, if you're listening to us through one of those places, hi. If you're not, check our archive stuff through one of those other areas. Also, by the way, you might be wearing some of our amazing merchandise, or you might not be. You might be wondering, Matt, where do I get that amazing merchandise? Well, you can go over at our main website, which is thoseguysontheradio.tumblr.com/merchandise or tgproduction.net/merchandise, or over to our eBay, which is actually /thoseguysradio, and get some pretty kick-ass merchandise through those different places. And if you want to keep up with Those Guys news, find out what we're doing either with our podcast or Let's Plays other fun little YouTube stuff, or even some of the WWE reviews that I write for our website, you could actually check out our different social media pages, our Facebook, which is /ThoseGuysOnTheRadio, our Twitter, which is @ThoseGuysRadio, and our Instagram, which is /ThoseGuysOnTheRadio. And if you want to donate to us at all and get some really cool kick-ass, say kick-ass a lot. It's the 80s, Courtney. Some cool kick-ass, reward tiers. Go to our Patreon, which is TG Productions, and check that out. And depending on how much you donate, you can get some really cool stuff. And you could also help us be us and help us do our thing. So thank you all for listening in. Remember to check out our Let's Play, which I mentioned earlier. Go check out our Let's Play stuff that we do over at Those Guys Play. Search up Those Guys Play on YouTube. And, yeah, you'll find us there. So thank you all. And I think it's time to say goodnight. So say goodnight, Courtney.
Good night, Courtney.
Good night, everybody.